Hello and welcome to Modest Magic, Episode 8.
With the beautiful mono blue deck, Jeff Goldblum.
And leave your house unlocked and all your valuables left in plain sight.
So, let's start off. So, you got a lot of, little light creatures that you're going to be playing on turn 1. A lot of, little bitty creatures.
Yep. We'll start with the namesake of the deck.
Mhm.
Our one-drop Mr. Jeff Goldblum, also known as the Delver of Secrets. He's pretty popular in, some competitive Magic games. Delver of Secrets is a 1-mana 1/1 human wizard, where his only ability is at your upkeep, you may reveal the top card of your library.
Mhm.
If it's an instant or sorcery, you can then transform him into a 3/2 flying insect.
Yes!
The Fly! Jeff Goldblum, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum.
That laugh. And just to give you an idea, there's quite a bit of instants in here.
Yeah, it plays after the first 2 turns very much like a control deck.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of card drawing, lots of counterspells, some unsummoned type effects, lots of stall and prevention, while you're just gonna chip away at them with the Star of Stars. So yeah, the other one drop that we'll be playing is Jace's Phantasm.
Which is probably the more expensive card of the whole deck.
It's basically the rare of the deck. The other one drop that we'll be playing is Jace's Phantasm. It's a 1/1 flyer for just a blue. And he has the added effect of if an opponent has 10 or more cards in their graveyard, he gains +4/+4.
Oh!
That is a huge dude.
So he's now a 5/5 flyer.
Yeah, no big.
After a couple little mills.
Yeah, that's it. Just a 5/5 flyer for 1.
No big deal.
That's it.
Turn 1, he's a little dinky flyer.
Yep.
Turn 3 or 4, he's probably a 4/4. Probably a 5/5.
Yeah. Basically, with the deck having a lot of stall effects, counterspells, and then a couple of mill effects to try and get towards that 10-card threshold. Because let's face it, you're not really going to get there on your own. Right. Especially playing just a mono blue deck, you're not going to be killing creatures, making people discard cards from their hand. But you add a couple of mill effects, maybe counterspell here or there. Or your opponent's probably playing spells of their own that might fill their own graveyard. Don't need to go all out for the mill, but just enough to try and activate him is more than worthwhile. 1-mana 5/5. Whew! That's a beating. That's a 4-turn clock, just raw. In the air. Deal with it. Shades.
Alright, so you want to go through the other creatures here? We got a couple more.
Yes, a couple more creatures here. All involve drawing cards because I don't have a problem. I don't. I totally don't have a problem. Alright, first we'll start with Scroll Thief. Scroll Thief is a great creature, kind of a big booty Judy, if you will. A 3-mana 1/3, if he punches your opponent, you get to draw a card.
Yay!
Now, this is great. He doesn't do a lot of damage, but keeping your hand size large is really important in this deck. Being able to always have at least another counterspell, another unsummon effect, another mill effect, always being able to respond to what your opponent does, that's what's going to keep you ahead. Because there isn't a lot of creatures that are going to be attacking to win the game in this deck. But those few that you have need to keep attacking each turn, so you always need that extra card to keep you going.
And they're getting nickeled and dimed to death.
Just a little bit here and there.
Yep.
A little bit at a time. You'll get there. It's not a race, guys. We're just trying to get there a little bit at a time.
And your opponent will hate you.
Just a little bit. I mean, that just comes with the territory playing blue.
Alright.
Next, basically, another version of Scroll Thief, but in the air, Thieving Magpie. This is a great old school card. Basically the exact same thing, but for a mana extra, has flying.
Yay!
More flying!
And drawing!
And more cards!
Yeah.
Yeah, again, flying is just better than not flying. Rarely will it bite you in the ass, but when your opponent can't block you, then that gives you all the power in combat to choose whether or not you want to attack.
Right.
Generally, it is yes, because for all intents and purposes, your creatures have unblockable in certain matchups. So, flying, always good. Lastly is our one lone Azure Mage. This guy's kind of like just a mana dump. He's just a dorky 2-mana 2/1 creature, but you can pay 4 mana and draw a card as long as it's on the table.
Yep. So if you got extra mana to spend, just whatever.
Fill that hand up. Doesn't even involve tapping him, which is really great.
Yep.
He can still attack that turn if you really need the card before you're going to attacks. Really great card. Helps you go in the late game.
Or if you didn't counter anything on that turn, you had all that mana right before
Exactly.
your turn. Ban, draw a card.
You're holding a bunch of instants anyways. Yep. You get to just watch your opponent do something. If they don't do anything too threatening, get that extra card going. Bam! Absolutely. Right. So, with the Delver of Secrets kind of being the mainstay of the deck, along with the Phantasm, the Delver wants the flips of the top of the deck to be an instant or sorcery. So I kind of mathed it out. It's 22 instants and sorceries. So on math and odds alone, I have a 1 in 3 chance every turn to transform my Delver of Secrets.
Yes!
Now, that's pretty good odds.
Yep.
I mean, it's not a coin flip.
Nope.
But still, given that, like, it doesn't need to transform immediately. I mean, if you do, just raw flip it going into your second turn, game's just over. Like, 3/2 flyers on turn 2, end games. Especially when you're sitting on unsummons and counterspells. Your opponent eventually just doesn't interact with you.
Yeah.
But they're
gonna scoop.
Right. But to flip him by turn 3, mathematically speaking, of course, is pretty good odds.
Yes.
I'll take that. He's a really good beating at that point. And let's get into all the spells I will be revealing to transform Jeff Goldblum. First, to start off with like our kind of mill package to help out the Phantasm, we have 4 Thought Scours.
Ooh.
This is a great card, a favorite of mine, that it's 1 mana instant, mill 2 cards to any player, draw a card.
Draw!
Oh my god. The fact that alone it's blue, draw a card, just kind of recycles itself, get through your deck faster, reveals for the Delver, and has the alternate clause to try and help your Phantasms grow. Really good at doing pretty much all of that.
Yep.
At instant speed. Secondly, we have 2 Mind Sculpts.
Which are sweet.
These, like, are in a can, basically activating Jace's Phantasm. Yes. 2 mana for 7 cards. Something has happened elsewhere in the game to cause 3 cards to fall in your opponent's graveyard. Yes. It's almost an inevitability. So, 2 mana, practically just, bam, Phantasms are online. Good stuff. And lastly, we have 1 Psychic Spiral. This is a spicy mill card. Tom knows that from we've had some mill versus mill matchups.
Oh my god, madness.
And it gets kind of crazy. Psychic Spiral is the trump card to end all trump cards in said matchups.
Yeah. So, you're milling me? Well, that's too bad. That's too bad.
I'll use all of that against you. For a 5 mana instant, you shuffle all cards from your graveyard back into your library and mill an opponent for the amount shuffled in.
And your opponent with his amazing consuming aberrations that are 20/20 are now dead.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry that happened. This is a great late game mill card. If games just kind of get ground out to the late game, both of you are just kind of like barely scratching at each other, a Psychic Spiral can easily just end the game. You just shuffle your graveyard away, and then your opponent has like no cards left at that point.
Right.
And in those mill scenarios, it's really good for those mirror matchups. But not to mention, it's technically a recycle effect. Any cards I've seen previously in the game, I get to get back at a second chance. And any counterspells, any bounce effects, any creatures that might have died, gives me a second chance at them, puts them back in the deck.
Sweet. More Jeff Goldblums.
More Jeff Goldblums. Gotta be good. How could that be bad?
It's never bad.
To follow up with our instants and sorceries, we have our removal effects, if you will, for blue. We start with 3 Vanishment. This was a neat little miracle card from the Avacyn Restored set, where for 5 mana, you can put target non-land permanent on top of its owner's library with the miracle cost of 1 blue.
Oh.
That is amazing. Like, unsummon costing a blue is like, that's pretty good. Like, back to the hand for 1 blue, that's really good. Back to the top of the deck? Like, that's effectively negating your opponent's next draw step.
Yes. They're hoping
not only
something else.
Not only am I drawing more cards than you, you're drawing less cards than me.
Yes.
Makes sense. Don't worry about it.
Let's say they scried too, like they scried last turn. They're really hoping to get some.
Oh, I
clutch card next
can't
turn.
wait for that one.
Can't
Or
wait.
Play some Harbinger.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this card specifically right on top of my
yeah.
deck. I can't wait to draw that one. You know what? We'll just cover that baby up real quick.
And now you get to play something you already played that you
Don't
probably
worry about
don't.
it.
Yeah.
True.
Probably
Not
won't
to
look for
mention a 2-card combo with any mill effect. If I have a mill spell and I am able to put one of your permanents on top of your library to then mill it to the graveyard is effective permanent removal.
Yes.
And that's pretty good in my book. Following up, as I mentioned with the unsummons, 4 unsummons, that card's just classic blue removal.
Yep.
Slow you down, you invested a bunch of mana, I spend 1 blue, fuck you.
Yeah. Try again next turn.
That could also be the name of this deck, is 1 blue, fuck you. Following up our last unsummon effect, we have 1 repulse. Just 3 mana unsummon, that lets me draw a card. I totally don't have a problem with drawing cards. Because I draw them all.
Yeah.
See, I don't have a problem, guys.
Yeah,
because I do draw cards.
Yes. It's only problematic when you have no cards left to draw, Booch.
I guess I'll have to spiral them all back into my deck.
Very nice.
Alright, to follow up with our instants and sorceries, we now have a suite of counterspells.
Yeah. Pretty much like every one of them.
Leading off, we just have a counterspell.
Yeah.
Blue. It's one of the more expensive counterspells, so I just stopped it at 1. Well, actually, technically, all my counterspells are just 1-ofs. Because I'm insane like that, and might as well have one of everything.
Yeah, you never know.
Follow that up, 1 cancel, just a 1 mana more counterspell. No big deal. We have a mana leak counter target spell unless they pay 3. Really good in the early turns.
Not gonna do that. Yeah.
Like, you can't pay 3 mana. And 1 remove soul, a counter spell for any target creature spell. So, along with those unsummons, 1 more way to stop you from getting more creatures. And lastly, 1 outwit. This I like to call like a nice silver bullet. It isn't always relevant in some matchups.
Right.
But the ones that it is relevant in, it's game changing. For a blue, counter target spell that targets a player. Discard effects, burn to the face. There's a lot of random things that you don't necessarily read target player on, but when you do, like any mill spells, oh my god, the silver bullet on this one bites people in the ass every time. I love it. It's a fun little counterspell that I like to play with. Lastly, we have 2 more card drawing spells.
Oh, no, really?
Both with shut up. Would you shut up? I have 1 Una's Grace. 3 mana, target player draws a card with Retrace. As we went over in our Cruel Control decks. Flashback for discarding lands. So, this is kind of like an infinite draw effect, kind of like the Azur's Mage. As long as I got some mana and an extra land to throw away, I can always keep getting cards in the hand. And along with that, 1 Whispers of the Muse. Again, another kind of like infinite draw effect if we get into this late game stalemate, can keep the cards in my hand. Just a blue draw card, but it has a buyback cost of 5 mana. So for 6 mana, draw card, that's again another effect where you get into these long games, you just wait for your opponent to do something, nothing threatening, draw a card.
Yep.
Just keep drawing cards.
Now you got a little suite of artifacts here too. So.
Yes, I have a handful of artifacts here. One of which is kind of like a card draw effect. The other ones, I play 4 Pristine Talismans. This kind of goes in the lines where I have these kind of like big mana sink effects, as we were going over the Whispers, the Azure Mage, and then our other artifact will also have like a mana activation cost. But not to mention, it gains me life. Pristine Talisman, a 3 mana artifact. Tap to add an extra mana into your mana pool and gain a life. This is great, kind of gets me up in the mana curve so I can do like 2 things a turn, or get those big mana sinks going, have lots of counter spells available. But the gaining life is also extremely relevant, as a lot of the matches against like other creature decks with this deck will end up becoming like, you attack with a flyer, they attack with a big ground creature. You attack with a flyer, they attack with a big ground creature. and gaining like a life every turn, or if you get 2 of them, 2 life every turn.
That'd be sweet.
That starts adding up real fast, and if you throw in an unsummon, all of a sudden you net 2 life, then net another 2 life.
Oof.
It can really cascade into just stalling an aggro deck out while you just chip your way through the skies. Really effective at that. And lastly, our one Crystal Ball. I love these big balls. Wait,
balls.
Yeah, I love these. Yeah, I love these balls. Yeah, I love these balls. Yeah, I love these balls. Crystal Ball is a 3-drop artifact. You pay 1 and tap it to scry 2 cards.
Sweet.
Not actually drawing cards, but effectively like seeing what I'm coming up. Gives me a really good insight as to how my next turns could play out. Hiding lands to the bottom if I really don't want them. And adversely, any mid-game Jeff Goldblums I stumble upon, I can now manipulate spells to the top of my deck to guarantee I have the fly. Crystal Ball is really good for that kind of late-game thing. That's kind of like what these big draw things were for after I already have established in trying to maintain that card positioning. To finish off with, a mono blue land base ain't going to be too fancy. I literally have 15 islands, 4 Terramorphic Expanse to get less lands out of my deck, so when I draw cards, I'm drawing spells as opposed to lands. And 1 Lonely Fairy Conclave. A man land that also flies, produces blue mana. I mean, this card's won me as many games as Delver's Secrets, probably.
That's awesome. Oh, it's a land. Oh, nope, it's a fairy.
Oh no, how about that? I just, whip, 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 whip. Oh, by the way, counterspell, draw cards, whip, whip, draw cards, stop, unsummon. That's how this deck plays out.
Yes. So I think that pretty much wraps up this week of Modest Magic. Next week we'll probably cover, I think the only goblin deck I have left is that green one. I think is the only thing we haven't done yet.
Green goblins.
Yes. I it's green, but I love goblins, so I had to do green goblins just to see if it was a thing. It kind of works. I have a lot of fun.
It has its moments.
It has its moments. But so we'll cover that next week. There's another deck that I'm still trying. Anybody got any ideas? It's a Consuming Aberration. If we can make that work under $25, throw some ideas down there in the comments.
That's a mill deck that he's been trying to put together for a while now. It has a lot of potential.
Yes.
The potential has been building for quite a while. When it will be released, no one knows.
No one knows. I'm not happy with it. I can't make it work. And the other ones we're working on, we got fairies working in the background after they just changed the Bitter Blossom thing. They kind of threw a wrench into the whole of being under $25.
It was a good profitable moment, but not so much for the deck.
Yeah.
Purchased some Mistbind clicks for it.
Yeah.
Was it? And they quadrupled in price overnight.
So I resold them, but the deck is bah. So
it is what it is.
Yeah. well, if you have any ideas for blue-black fairies or blue-black Consuming Aberration, put it down in the comments because I'd love to hear them.
Absolutely. That pretty much wraps it up for this week. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on
Mod. We're supposed to say Modest Magic, right? That's what we've been doing, right?
Is it?
I think so. I think it is Modest Magic. Modest Magic on Getting Your Nerd On. We'll sing it on Getting Your Nerd.
Fuck Zach. We'll just sing Modest.
Alright, yeah.
Alright, well, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe to Getting Your Nerd On. And we'll see you next time on Modest Magic.
And leave your house unlocked and all your valuables left in plain sight.
Magic. Got it that time.
It'll work that way.
I actually
Say subscribe to Getting Your Nerd On.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time on Modest Magic.
makes so much more sense.
That way Zach can have his fucking moment.
Yep. Alright. Fuck you, Zach. Winning! So...